So we're going to do an exercise here in a minute, and Kevin and Kimmy Salibas are going to come up and help us with this. But before we get to that, I just want to kind of talk about this incarnational model that Jesus gives us. So one of the things that Jesus does is he became flesh. He is God. He's already talked about this. Jesus is God. And the Bible says that the Word, or God, became flesh and dwelt among us, that God entered our world. And by entering our world, he forever changed it when he took on human flesh and walked in our shoes. This is perhaps the most loving demonstration that the world has ever seen, where God would come and he would endure grief and hunger when he didn't have to. He would take upon loss and sadness and betrayal of his friends. He'd be lied to when he didn't have to. He would endure pain and anger and poverty and being hated by others when he did not have to. He would extend love and have his love rejected when he did not have to do this, but yet he chose to do this. And one of the greatest ways we can love one another is by doing the hard work, like Jesus demonstrates, of stepping into another person's shoes, not because we have to, but because it is the loving thing to do. It's going beyond just facts and information, and it's attempting to feel what they feel, endure what they've endured, right? And so one of the things that we've learned, Beth and I have gone through this together, is something that we call incarnational listening. So a guy by the name of David Augsburger, that was way different. Yep. Has this quote, and I just absolutely love it. He says, listening is so closely related to loving that the two are almost indistinguishable. So a few years ago, Beth and I go to this conference where we're taught that speaking is a God-given instinct, and you know this with children, but listening is a learned skill, yes or no? Yes. Okay? And at this conference, they taught us something called incarnational listening, where you work to step into another person's shoes in order to love them like Jesus loved us when he stepped into our shoes. And so the goal of incarnational listening is not to fix a problem, is not to change somebody else's mind or to prove a point. The goal is to love somebody by stepping into their shoes, which is going to increase our emotional intimacy with one another and then grow our love, which in end enhances our maturity, which is exactly what Jesus modeled for us. So in your seat, right, is this listening guide. So it's this idea of how to practice incarnational listening. If you ever came to Good Lovers After Dark, which we did about a year and a half ago almost, we went over this together, and we helped couples do this. But this can be done with anybody. So in this service, we're going to have Kimmy and Kevin do this. Next service, we're going to have two sisters do it, twins. And in the last service, we're going to have a son and his dad do this as a demonstration of incarnational listening, where you're attempting to step into another person's shoes. And so basically it gives each other rules. A speaker is going to speak, and they're going to speak using I statements. They're going to talk about their thoughts, their feelings, their desires. They're going to be brief in their statements. They're going to occasionally let the other person then paraphrase what it is that is being said so that there's clarity about what is being stated. They're going to include statements that have to do with feelings, which there's a feeling wheel on the other side. They're going to be respectful, honest, and clear. And then the listener is going to make sure that they're clearly understanding what is being spoken. They're not going to be judgmental. They're going to do their best to interpret what is being said. And they're going to step in each other's shoes, okay? And so can we invite right now Kevin and Kimmy up? So why don't you guys come up? What's going to be interesting about this is that Kimmy is, from what I understand, is going to be the one who is speaking, and Kevin is going to be the one who does incarnational listening. You guys could go ahead and take a seat, right? And this is not rehearsed. We made them swear on a Bible that they would not practice this at home. So what that means is that Kimmy is coming to Kevin right now with something that she needs to share with him, and Kevin is not aware of what this is.
Jerry
you were
Springer.
seeing this in real time, right?
It's like
you
a
guys,
Jerry
did
Springer
you cheat?
episode.
Did you cheat?
I wanted to cheat, but he wouldn't.
Oh, is the mic on?
She wanted to, yeah.
She wanted to cheat?
She did.
You wouldn't let her? That's my guy.
I wouldn't let her, yeah.
All right, good.
She tried so hard.
Okay. We're going to let
Come
you
on,
guys
Bubba.
take it away.
Invite me over.
And I'll coach if I need to.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, first, I just want to say Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
You're the best father that I could have ever imagined, and so I just love you. So I want to say that. Throw that in there.
All right, we can end on that if
okay.
you want. I don't know. It's kind of a good.
Also, there's nothing like airing your problems with your spouse in front of your church. So just be kind to us. Okay, so Matt asked us to think through, one of us to think through like a recent problem or situation that we've had, and we want to talk it through. So I want to talk about our recent conversation about Costco. So for context, Kevin and I have been trying to think through like how to save money on groceries because we spend so much money on groceries. Sorry, my back is towards you all. We just spend so much money on groceries, and we now have a 9-month-old son, and he eats, I think, more than like most grown men I know. He eats so much. It's impressive, and it's inconvenient. So we've been trying to think
concerning
through, like,
too.
How do we, we can't go to Whole Foods like every 3 days. Like, what do we do? So anyways, we're trying to think this through, and we've kind of tossed around this idea of going to Costco. Never actually happened, but we had this idea, like, everyone loves Costco. Apparently you can return anything. Let's go there. Yeah, like, people love it. So we tossed around this idea, but it never happened. And so on Friday, Kevin says, hey, let's go to Costco, like, today. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a great idea. It's convenient, everyone loves it, let's do it. And then I started to really think through, like, the reality of what that means to go to Costco for our family. And so I'm, like, thinking through all the things, and I find you, like, in the house, and I just, like, start to brain dump on you, and I'm like, where will we store the 18 tubs of toothpaste that come in one pack? Like, we have a tiny apartment, how are we going to do that? And then I'm thinking, like, when will we have time to go? We have such a busy schedule. We're both working outside of the home. And so, like, when will we have time to go? Will I go? Will you go? Will we go with our kids? Like, when I'm processing so much right now. And the biggest issue that I was starting to feel anxious about was that Kevin has a history with, like, big wholesale stores. Sorry. Not doing
for the sake of the conversation, just talk to him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I started to feel anxious about when you went to BJ's and you spent $800 over our budget. And I had to escort you back inside and return everything. This is for a party, so it was a little bit of a bigger situation.
Can you repeat back what you're hearing?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is we're talking about going to Costco, and this memory of when I went to BJ's and bought a bunch of stuff for this party we're throwing. That's coming into your mind, and you're like, man, I'm stressed about going to Costco with you because I don't want to buy a bunch of stuff, and then I don't know where to store everything.
So stress. He used the word stressed. You used the word anxious.
Yeah. I felt more anxious than stressed. Mm-hmm. But stress is a good word for it, too. Mm-hmm. Okay, keep going. Okay, so I started to feel all of those, like, anxieties of, like, I don't know if this is actually a good idea for our family. I don't know. And you were not ready to hear my brain dump. You were not ready to process all of this with me. And
you were accusing him.
Oh, sorry.
So just no, this is my job. My job is to help, right? Try to stick in with I statements. So I believed
that you did not want to process this with me.
Do you want to respond to that and repeat back what you're hearing?
Yeah. So your belief is that I didn't want to process it with you, and you could tell that I wasn't ready.
Yeah. And so I felt, I remember hearing you say, Kimmy, this is not a work project that you need to brainstorm. This is groceries. And so that made me feel like my thoughts and my feelings and what I was trying to process was not valued by you, and therefore I was not valued by you.
Yeah, so you're starting to feel unvalued by me because of my really not great comment about this is not a work project. So you're starting to feel this, that the conversation really is and what I'm saying to you is making you feel unvalued. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's everything.
So on here it says, is there more?
You want me to say that?
Yeah.
Is there more that is going on that I may have missed?
Nope. That's it.
Are there other ways that I make you feel?
Yeah,
Not
are there
valuable?
other ways that I've made you feel unvalued?
Was it just groceries?
You mean like in other situations or this situation?
Well, I'm thinking just in general, I don't want you to feel unvalued because I love you.
I think for the most part, I know that you value me and I know that you value my opinion. In certain situations like this one where you have a goal in mind and you're like nonstop, like I'm going to get there no matter what, without consideration for who is around you, that makes me feel unvalued.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is like when I'm, going towards something, I could be inconsiderate of the people around me, and in this situation it was you. And I was inconsiderate of what you thought, what you felt about it, and so it made you feel unvalued, which I hate. Hate that happened.
Thanks.
So in this particular situation, you might want to say something like, I'm really sorry about that. and will you forgive me, maybe? Go ahead. Unless you totally...
I tell you, I'm so sorry about that. You have very good insights, and you're able to think through things and not move as quickly, which is a great characteristic of you. And I'm sorry that I didn't value that characteristic of you.
I forgive you.
Thank you. Of everything you shared, what is the most important thing you want me to remember?
Never to go to BJ's.
Always go to Costco instead?
Always go to Costco.
Okay.
No, I would say that I really want you to consider when you have a specific goal in mind and you're just like, nothing's going to stop me, I'm going to get there no matter what. I really want you to stop and consider who's around you and who might have something to share with you.
Thank you for making me better.
The last thing that you might want to say, this is helpful for Beth and I do this, is what do you need to hear from me right now?
What do you need to hear from me right now?
That is such a good question. I need to hear that when we do decide to go to Costco, that you're not going to kind of hold this over me and say, like, well, don't spend a lot before we go in there. Don't buy things, because then I'll feel like I never want to go to Costco again. So I'd love to hear that.
Is that true? Can he hear that from you?
Yes, for sure. And I'm really sorry for that. Can I repeat that back to him?
Yeah.
Should I do that? You would like for me to make sure that when we do go to Costco, online order, when we do, I don't pester you and hold this over your head to say, like, don't spend a lot of money, remember this certain situation, to just be, more gracious with you.
Yes, that's exactly right. Thank you.
Yeah, you can clap for that.
Thank you.
Good job, you guys.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.